Hello everyone, Canon Lowy here. This time with some more Path of Exile, but this is more of a discussion video about the Conquerors of the Atlas. I kind of wanted to give kind of a second impressions sort of video on what I thought of the new update after I've had a lot more experience with it, because in my review of it, um, that was pretty much only just after I fought like a few of the Conquerors, and now that I know more about their fights and everything, this is going to be discussing that. So far I have gotten a total of 16 Watchstones, and once you get 16, they all require you to get all 4 of them socketed into one region in order to spawn more. And that's kind of irritating to me, simply because when you get 16 of them, that's only half of the potential Watchstones that you can get. So the second half of them you have to do with tier 14 through 16, which it's not so much of a problem of doing high tier maps necessarily, but actually building up the map, the amount of maps that I need in order to do that. Like for an example, right now, I have a decent amount of tier 11s, but not very many tier 10s, tier 12s, 13s, and then I actually did get a tier 16 map, I think from a Xena mission. I did a high tier map that had this drop, or something along those lines, I'm not 100% sure. But it's mostly about building the tier 14 through 16 maps that I have a problem with, because the way that they do it is that, of course, you can't get high tier maps from low tier maps, so that becomes pretty annoying. And I am currently level 92, and this is like the 3rd or 4th week of Metamorph League as a whole, and thankfully my build has actually been really good, especially since Warmonger, I think just today or yesterday, gave me the ferrules for armor. We've been working together to get the items that we both need in order to do these high tier maps, and he got me this apparently for 13 Exalt, so thank you very much for that, Warmonger. But anyway, so my build can actually do those high tier maps, except I don't have the map pool to do them. So far, the battles themselves for the various Conquerors, since I have fought them enough times to sort of learn more about how their fights go, honestly, they are really, for the most part, pretty balanced, I would say, and that is something that I really liked about the Shaper fight. At this point in time, as far as me recording this, I haven't uploaded the first time I fought Shaper. At the end of last league, I did a number of Shaper runs with Warmonger before they made it so Shaper was no longer readily available anymore. And I really liked how balanced that fight was. Like, you could see what attacks Shaper was gonna do, and doing these various boss fights for the Conquerors, they all seem to also have those, and that is a massive plus for me, because I really find certain boss fights, especially in the higher tier maps, that it just feels like either you can't dodge their attack or something along those lines that gets you killed, and there's absolutely nothing you could have done about it. One example is Katava. Sometimes when he does his fire breath, it covers the entire arena. So what are you supposed to do about that? I guess you're just supposed to tank it. And moves like that I have a problem with. But so far, these Conquerors have been balanced from what I've seen, and I've been enjoying them. But the only problem, though, in my mind anyway, is that the four Conquerors, they're kind of forgettable. Like, they don't really have the presence of Shaper Elder, obviously. And while they do have their own influences, and I would say Baron, the Crusaders one, is by far the worst influence in increasing the difficulty of your maps out of all of them. But the boss fights themselves, like, they're sort of like just a tiny bit harder normal map bosses. Like they don't really feel super special, other than being extremely learnable. So at this point, I haven't fought the fifth Conqueror, Sirius, the Awakener, as he's called at this point. So I don't really know too much about his fight, but from what I've seen by looking at videos on YouTube, he actually is... He also seems to be quite learnable as well, and balanced in that way. So I've been really looking forward to that. So mostly on the map progression thing, I really find the way that you upgrade your Atlas a massive pain in the butt. And like, me being level 92 and I'm only half done, especially like within like 3 or 4 weeks of the league being out, like in my mind that really says something, because this league I have a good build that has good clear speed, and for the most part I have been kind of focused on upgrading the Atlas, and I only have half of them done and I'm level 92. I mean, in my mind I should be like constantly be doing tier 16s at this point, being that level, if you know what I mean. So that is what has really been a massive issue for me and Warmonger at this point, is that the process of upgrading the Atlas, it is just... It's not very hard. Like, it's really easy to figure out how to do it. It's just so time consuming to actually do it. If any of you don't know, who haven't tried out Conquerors of the Atlas, how you do it is that you go into a map, and depending on what the requirements are for getting each individual color of Watchstone, you will spawn a Conqueror, and then you have to find him or her 2 more times after that initial time, so 3 times in total, and then you go into another map to actually fight them. So a total of 4 maps every time you fight each one, and then that times 32 Watchstones. And from the sound of it, after you get to a certain number of Watchstones, you aren't even guaranteed to spawn the Conquerors after 1 map anymore. So this league has had so much burnout in me, it's just ridiculous. And I would say that I am above casual player at this point, and I'm getting serious burnout from this. I have had quite a few days where I had to take a break from this in order to go back to it. So that is a massive problem. I would say if my build was not as comfortable as it was, like if I was using my Ice Trap build from Blight League, I probably would have been done by now, in all seriousness. And it is a thing that really concerns me about the future leagues, about what if I don't have a good build and it takes me a month in order to get to endgame, effectively every single league out of the 3 months total there is, I kind of find that to be kind of a massive issue in my mind. So I guess we'll have to see in the future how it goes, but that has been my experience with the Conquerors of the Atlas, and also they have this awakening bonus thing, which is where you do maps a certain, like basically the highest level that they are plus a certain awakening level. And so basically they have you do the Atlas mapping twice. So I don't know, I just kind of am under the impression that while the system sounds good on paper, it's like as grindy as they could have made it, and it's just like I would rather easily have the old Atlas back, because each map I would do, I'm done. I don't have to spawn these Conquerors, I don't have to mess around with that in order to actually progress. You know, so that has been the problems that I've had with this league. I'm sure once you get all of the Watchstones and everything's tier 14 and above, and you have pretty much maxed out Atlas bonus, I'm sure it's great. But the process of getting there is just way too time consuming and frustrating. But at the same time, I do want to emphasize with this, I am really happy that each of the Conquerors, including what I've seen of Sirius, I of course haven't fought him yet, they seem very learnable and balanced instead of some of the old bosses that seemed not so balanced, especially with certain map mods. So there's that. So overall, that's kind of my second impressions. It's pretty much about the same. It's a good system if they found a way to make it not as grindy. And I'm level 92, and I just have half of them. I think the biggest problem actually is getting to having tier 14 through 16 maps to even get the last of the Watchstones. But I don't know. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day.